Hey, Forrest here. Nothing like getting paid. And with ICCU's mobile app, I can deposit checks or accept Zelle payments so the money hits my account fast. I just wish there was an app for mowing the rest of these lawns.
Right now, Lithia Ford of Boise is buying used vehicles. How much you want for the SUV?
I don't know.
Well, Lithia Ford will give you more than that.
How much more?
More than you think.
I'm not thinking anything.
I'm thinking you might get even more than that. See how much more you can get at Lithia Ford of Boise.
When it comes to concrete, we've got you covered. RowPaint.com offers custom concrete coating services for your garage, business, warehouse, and more. And we do it in one day. We are your complete concrete coatings solution.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Now, here's BJ Rains with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, what's going on, Boise State fans? Happy Sunday evening to you. Special edition Bronco Nation News Live here at BroncoNationNews.com. My name is BJ Rains. We moved up the Monday morning show with John Mallory for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'll be in the air flying back to Boise tomorrow, visiting my family in St. Louis this weekend, not thinking there would be any news going on or things that I would miss. And of course, that didn't work out too well for me. But also, we didn't want to wait any longer to discuss the big news of Dirk Koetter coming in as offensive coordinator with the firing yesterday afternoon of Tim Plough. And John Mallory, you were at the press conference today. We've got a couple clips to play. Big news in Bronco Nation, man. Happy Sunday to you.
Yeah, BJ, happy Sunday to you too, and appreciate Bronco Nation being willing to do another edition of Bronco Nation News Live tonight. This feels like BNN After Dark. I guess we'll have to wait for Wednesday for that one, BJ. But a press conference this week that, let's be honest, has been more anticipated than just about any press conference I can ever remember. We all in the media got that email yesterday afternoon that said, press release, Dirk Koetter is going to replace Tim Plough, who had been fired effective immediately. And not a shock amongst a lot of people. I think it was a move that, sadly, for Andy and everybody who didn't want this to happen, I think it was a move that had to be done, BJ. But yeah, hearing Coach Avalos speak about it tonight or today earlier during the press conference, and let's go. You got Dirk Koetter coming in, and there's certainly a lot to be excited about on that front.
Yeah, doing this on a Sunday night, Johnny, here we already have by far the most viewership we've had for a John Mallory show, so maybe the evening is better for viewership for your show. But yes, this is not BNN After Dark. You have to watch the language on this one. We may have some kids watching. You never know, so always got to get that out there for Johnny. But, the comments are already rolling in. James says, wow, what a sobering weekend. Never easy to see, but hey, next week, new direction. We start fresh. Ride as one. There's so many different ways to go with this, Johnny. I mean, after the game, you guys had your call-in show. Everybody said something had to be done. I mean, how surprised were you? And I guess just start with Plough first, because I'll say this. Not only firing Tim Plough, but hiring Dirk Koetter, that was like the Fantasyland thing that 98% of Bronco Nation wanted, that I personally didn't think both would happen. Maybe Plough would get fired, but I mean, Dirk Koetter was basically retired. I mean, this guy coming out to be the offensive coordinator for the rest of the season is a really big deal, dude. And I don't know how much, he can change in a short amount of time. I mean, you're talking about an NFL head coach, an NFL offensive coordinator that was kind of just content giving his thoughts here and there and being, mostly retired and living in Boise and, golfing a couple times a week still. And then, this happened. So the Tim Plough firing surprised me, but the fact that they also brought in Koetter, I mean, this to me is a move that, like, fans, I can't remember a time, man, where so many people wanted something to happen and the exact thing actually happened. So I I was surprised, frankly, that I thought maybe Tim Plough would be reassigned, or they would just take away the play calling duties, let him concentrate on the quarterbacks. Maybe I thought Tim Keene would be the scapegoat, fired the offensive line coach, Tim Keene. I thought maybe they would just go to Taylon Green, which they still could. There are a lot of options, and for it to be Plough, you're completely gone, you're fired, we're relieving your duties, and then the fan favorite, the guy everybody wanted, the guy that turned it around, got it going 98 to 2000, is back again as OC. I mean, this is crazy times, man. It really is.
Yeah, right. I mean, talk about Andy Avalos throwing Bronco Nation a bone here. How is this for Bronco Nation to chew on, right? They get Dirk Koetter, the anticipation now for Friday's game hosting San Diego State. Andy has totally flipped it. I'll start with the Tim Plough firing. I don't think it surprised a lot of people, to be honest. You can't average 283 yards per game with the schedule they've had. You're completing 50% of your
second
passes.
Lowest, by the way, 283 yards, on pace to be the second worst of all time at Boise State. Total offense.
And completing 57% of your passes, having no rhythm, no rhyme, no reason, not taking enough shots deep. The offensive line, the quagmire that is who is going to start this week. I mean, they honestly sat KHG because they thought that they had a better option in starting Farah at center and playing a true freshman at right guard. That's how
it sounded like maybe he was banged up a little bit, right? Is what it sounded like, maybe.
Maybe so, but KHG came in the fourth quarter. He played. They could have played him. Yeah. So,
that's true.
But yeah, Tim Plough had to go. It sucks for people who were hoping that he would finally turn it around. And I mean, there's a lot of things you can point to say Tim Plough, maybe it would have been better if he would have had this or that. But I think Andy Avalos just realized he couldn't play that game anymore. Not with San Diego State and Fresno State, the next two games coming up, both on Friday nights, both at home.
Let's stay with Plough. We'll get to Koetter in a little while. Let's just focus on Plough right now because that's where a lot of the comments are coming in. Somebody's asking how much pressure do you think Dickey received from the boosters? Do you think this was 100% Andy Avalos' move? Do you think Jeremiah Dickey was involved in this? And again, I was down there in El Paso talking to Andy Avalos the night before this all went down, and we're asking about why he wouldn't put in Taylon Green and asking all these questions, and then he flies home. And by noon the next day, he's already made the decision basically or early afternoon that Tim Plough is gone. To be, 15, 16 games in? I mean, you don't see this very often, Johnny, that a coach basically admits a mistake in an assistant coaching hire, a third of the way into the second season. I mean, it took a lot of guts, I think, for Andy Avalos, but let's be honest, Johnny, I think he's trying to save his own job too, man. Like, you got to start winning some games here, and you got to have a competent offense like you're talking about. I mean, I don't know if there was pressure from Dickey or the outside or whatever. I think 9-7 fans are not happy, and you have to do something to show. And he made a pretty drastic move, man, switching offensive coordinators at this point.
Yeah, do you think there was some assistance from Jeremiah Dickey? Did Andy Avalos at least make that call and say, here's what I'm thinking?
I think you have to, because in part you still have to pay out Tim Plough's contract, and I guarantee you're giving Dirk Koetter a substantial amount of money over the $24,000 he was making as analyst. You're probably having to pay Dirk Koetter another $100,000 or something to come in as OC for the rest of the season. You still owe Tim Plough $130,000. So I definitely think you had to have some sort of, for that high profile of a thing. I'm sure Jeremiah Dickey had to be involved, but whether Dickey went to Avalos and said, hey, we got to do something, I don't know what the order of that was, but I'm sure Jeremiah Dickey was involved in it and had to sign off on that. But there was so many things they could have done, Johnny. And like I said, you could have fired Tim Keene. You could have just switched the play calling duties. You could have put Matt Miller more involved. You could have just switched quarterbacks. And we, maybe should have seen this coming, man. 177 yards, literally one of the worst offensive games Boise State's ever had. Didn't even get to 100 yards passing or rushing for the first time since 1997 in a game. I mean, we can keep talking about how historically bad that game was. 27-10, losing to UTEP. And I said it in my post-game story, Johnny. Maybe, all the other media guys had their phones ready. They're ready to get the video of the UTEP fans storming the field. And it tells you all you need to know about where Boise State is at right now, that the UTEP fans didn't even storm the field after beating, Boise. I mean, and again, like it was, I know Boise State's not ranked or whatever, but I mean, normally a road non-conference game when you're 16-point favorites and it's big bad Boise State getting upset, those fans would have been all over the field. And so the fact that it wasn't even that big of a game for them to storm the field kind of said, you know what, that kind of tells you all you need to know right now about the state of this program. And what did you make, and I guess we can play the Andy Avalos soundbite here in a second, but what did you make of what Avalos said today about why Tim Plough was fired and what he didn't like about the offense, and why do you think this decision ultimately came now, and what do you make of, Tim Plough and his, run as the OC?
It didn't end well. It didn't begin well. And I think the fan base can honestly look at this program and say, I told you so. Because I think the fans had been enough with Tim Plough since at some point last year, and they just never bought in. They didn't drink the Tim Plough Kool-Aid like I will admit I did in the media at times. I wanted Tim Plough to have the time to let and the patience from this fan base, but this fan base isn't patient. Not when you're averaging 283 yards per game of offense a month into the season, when you have a cream puff lollygag schedule outside of Corvallis week 1. It wasn't getting better. It was getting worse. And everything you said about, you didn't try to at least keep Tim Plough on to coach quarterbacks. You didn't want to maybe think about having Matt Miller become the play caller. I think all of that was on the table, but I don't think Andy Avalos, unless he knew something before the season, I think when Andy made that call, and he didn't get into it much at the presser, we kind of asked him too, like, what was your pitch? What was the selling point to Dirk? How did you make this happen? And he just kind of said it was a long conversation that I don't want to get into, which, okay, I understand, but I think all those other things that you suggested, I think they would have all been on the table had Koetter said no. Like maybe some people would have been expecting him to.
Because he did say, right?
He did. I mean, it's flipped this thing.
Yep. Because he did. I think Andy Avalos said that Dirk Koetter was the only man for the job or something, essentially. Like if it wasn't Dirk Koetter, not sure this happens, right? I mean, that's basically what he said, that Dirk Koetter, towards the end of the press conference, he said Dirk Koetter was kind of the only option. And he, of course, could be saying that because Dirk Koetter said yes. But you probably have the Koetter conversation before you have the conversation with Plough, right? Like, you have to get Koetter on board.
Yes.
You're not firing Tim Plough and then saying, hey, I just fired Tim Plough, Dirk. Will you come back as offensive coordinator? Like, I'm pretty sure that conversation happened earlier, and maybe the conversation with Jeremiah Dickey and the other coaches or whatever happened before that on the plane back or early in the morning. But, when he went and had that conversation with Tim Plough, whether it was in his office or whatever, he already had Dirk Koetter on board. So I think that was an interesting order there of how things went down.
Yeah.
Let's hear let's hear a short clip from Andy Avalos for those that missed the press conference today. Boise State obviously made Andy Avalos available on a Sunday to the media today. Didn't want to wait the extra day to talk about this decision. And here's the brief opening statement about the decision from Andy Avalos.
Yesterday, we obviously had to make a tough decision with our offensive coordinator position. I love Tim Plough. I'm very grateful for his friendship, our time together. But it was just a time that we needed to make a change with the leadership of our offense. Ultimately, all three phases, everything underneath this roof is my responsibility. And I take that with great pride, great gratitude for being in the position I'm in. It is ultimately my responsibility to put these young men, this program, in the best position possible. Again, I'm very thankful for Tim Plough and the time he has spent here, the energy, the dedication he's put in. But moving forward, Dirk Koetter will be our offensive coordinator and also coach our quarterbacks. It provides us an opportunity to reorganize our process, create rhythm for our offensive staff, in turn our offensive players. We're very excited about our offensive guys. We know that they're very capable. We've seen them do it. We just have not done it consistently. I'm very excited about our offensive coaches. They've been consistent and relentless in working to find ways to help our offense get better. That being said, again, I take responsibility for all three phases when it comes to us being on the field: offense, defense, special teams. And it is my responsibility to make sure that we are putting these young men in the best position possible to succeed.
What whether it was in that comment or anything else, what stood out to you, Johnny? What else from what Andy Avalos said in terms of why they got rid of Tim Plough, why it didn't work with Tim Plough? He talked about putting too much on the quarterbacks, maybe at the line of scrimmage, letting them play more freely, maybe the preparation during the week, not giving the confidence, allowing the players to have confidence. What stood out to you about what we heard from Andy Avalos in terms of why he decided to fire Tim Plough?
I think just that's Andy Avalos saying, guys, we all saw it. We've recognized it. It was an issue. We got to our point where we just felt we could no longer move forward with this type of direction offensively. 283 yards per game so far, like I've said a million times, just isn't going to be enough. I don't care how well your defense plays. So Andy Avalos had to nip it in the bud. He did that. And I mean, I like to use Dumb and Dumber references, BJ, but Andy Avalos took the shaggin' wagon back into town and traded it straight up to get 70 miles to the gallon on this hog and totally redeem himself. Like, that's where I'm looking at it with this. If this season can be saved schematically, offensively, developmentally, and Dirk Koetter is the man for that job, and Boise State can put itself in a position to stay in the Mountain West race, maybe even win the dang division, I don't know. We look back on late September and a decision that Andy Avalos made to part ways with Tim Plough and bring in this Koetter regime, and Bronco Nation is going to say, thank you, Andy. Thank you, Jeremiah Dickey. Thank you for recognizing that this was a problem of irreconcilable differences. And we moved on and we did it in, like I said, Friday night, all of a sudden, tomorrow on my show, on your shows, it's not look at this doom and gloom everywhere. This team is screwed. Yeah, maybe it is. That's not the main conversation now. The main conversation now is what can Dirk Koetter do with this offensive football team? Does he play Hank? Do people want to see Dirk with the opportunity to fix Hank? Do people want to see Dirk with the opportunity to develop Talon? There's all these new questions to the offense now that Friday night, hopefully people get some sort of an answer to. And again, flip this thing. People are now going to be somewhat excited and certainly very intrigued to see what this offense looks like now. And, they'll sing the chants, ding dong, Plough is gone. They'll be partying in the streets of the tailgate zone next Friday night. I get it. But lots to look ahead with excitement with this fan base. And that's Dirk Koetter coming back, not only to coach your quarterbacks, but to call plays.
And how much, Johnny, do you think this was Andy Avalos saying this has to be done, this is the best move, versus like the fan base was freaking out, the sky is falling, they're losing money from donors, his job's on the line? Like, how much of this, like I said, I think people would have been happy, with Plough being gone. But this was if you could have given 10 options to Boise State fans, this would have been the number one option for 99% of them. Not only firing Plough, but hiring Dirk Koetter. And so, to me, I mean, is any part of this just to get the fans off his back? I mean, is this just an Avalos like, hey, this is done to quiet, like you just said, everyone's all of a sudden partying and happy again for a 2-2 football team? I know he's doing this because he thinks it was the best move, I'm sure. But what part of getting the fans excited and off his back do you think played into this?
I don't think it played much, man. I mean, you know Andy, I know Andy. I don't know how much that stuff goes into his head. If he does, he'll never let us know about it, right? He was stone-faced. He was Stonewall Jackson today in that press conference, BJ. Most coaches are never going to admit the fan base or boosters, got to them and forced a decision. I think Andy Avalos saw an opportunity to greatly improve his football team's chances of having a productive offense. And all he needed was Dirk Koetter to say, Andy, I got you, man. I'll help you. Let's see if we can get this thing going. I'll give you all I got. That's all Andy Avalos needed to know. And BJ, this is a major upgrade. There's no other way for me to dance around that for Bronco Nation. Major upgrade. You would think in scheme, in development, in overall coaching, in game management, in play calling rhythm. I don't know where you lose anything on this. Trading in Tim Plough for Dirk Koetter. I don't know. You don't lose anything for me.
No, but I mean, in 6 days, what do you expect to actually change? He's not going to put in a whole new offense in 6 days.
Why not? He's going to keep this one. You seem down on this. Yeah, I feel like you're. I feel like you're poking at me to agree with you on this.
I guess I think a lot of fans are just expecting Dirk Koetter to come in and sprinkle this, pixie dust, and then all of a sudden things are just going to totally change because I just don't know.
You think it's a personnel issue?
I think the offensive line
aren't good enough?
I think the offensive line is a huge problem. I think the wide receivers have underperformed. I think Hank has underperformed. I certainly think Tim Plough was part of it, but I don't know if he was the sole problem. I think I think he was definitely a factor, but I think it's easy to always blame the OC when stuff doesn't go wrong. I think Ben Dooley being out has been a massive problem. KHG not playing well has been a massive problem. As I said, not having Khalil Shakir and just not realizing how big of a deal that was going to be has been a big problem. I hope it goes well for Boise State. I'm not saying I don't like the move. I really, really hope it goes well. I just you got the dice. They're rolling the dice. You
still roll the dice on Dirk
I'm not
Koetter
saying
instead of the status quo.
If you have a chance to do it,
he comes back healthy.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say you don't. I didn't say I wouldn't have made the move. I just think that if it were Matt Miller or something, that took over as OC, I don't think the expectations would have been as high. I think Dirk Koetter coming in, all of a sudden now people are expecting it to be massively different on Friday night. They're going to come out and look like a completely different offense, a completely different team. And maybe that happens. And if it does, Dirk Koetter is going to get all the credit. But I guarantee you that there's, the O-line will be healthier. The receivers will play better. Hank will play better. There's going to be more to it. But I guarantee you Dirk Koetter is going to get all the credit if it turns around. And so I give Andy Avalos a lot of credit. It was a bold move. It was, the fans are obviously fired up again. You got 2 big home games coming up in conference play. Probably rejuvenates the locker room a little bit. I get it. I just don't know if in 6 days one guy is going to be able to totally change things so much on his own that it's going to really, if play calling was the issue and he calls better plays and that was it, then great. I just think there's more to it than just Tim Plough, I guess. And so I don't know what.
Well, then you'll blame Hank, I think. If the offense still sucks on Friday night, it's not going to be Koetter was a mistake. It's going to be, okay, we've had enough of Tim Plough. You've thrown him to the wolves. Now it's time you throw Hank out and we move forward with the Taylon Green era. I think you, like I do, I think Andy Avalos kind of hinted that a little bit today, but I don't think Taylon Green is far away. And no, I'm not expecting a massive improvement offensively, but I think if it is improved, we'll be able to tell, the rhythm of the play calling or whatever, maybe the confidence, I don't know, but I just think the decision had to be made. If it doesn't work, I still support the decision being made.
I agree. It couldn't have gotten any worse. It's not going to go backwards any worse. I get it. Do you think Andy had Koetter as a backup plan this whole time just in case?
No.
Okay, there is a lot of that talk that Andy knew this was going to be possible if things didn't go well to start the season. If you're going into the season already having questions about your OC, you probably shouldn't have even brought him in to start the season.
Yep.
So I would disagree with that. Double O'Neill says, can't get worse, can only get better. Michael Wilson loves the move. Matt Miller needs to stick to Koetter's hip, soak up as much knowledge as possible. Let's see what else we got here. I know you'll be on board for this one. We need to make Kirby the highest paid OC in the conference. What do you make about this? And if it goes well this year, I know Andy Avalos was asked about it today. He didn't comment on it. Do you think this is a 3-month thing for Dirk Koetter to be nice while his kid's still on the team? Or is there a chance if this goes well that he may stick around for another year?
Time will tell. I would say right now this is an interim situation. Is Dirk Koetter going to be involved in recruiting? Most offensive coordinators, as you know, Tim Plough are heavily involved in recruiting. Is Dirk Koetter going to be calling kids in high school? I was going to ask Andy today that, but we ran out of time. And I didn't think Andy was prepared to talk about Dirk Koetter's impact on recruiting right now. I don't think he'll do anything, if any recruiting at all. But no, I expect this to be a one-shot deal. But if that shot ends up saving the season, flipping this thing, and maybe giving Andy, God, they love to keep it in the family around here, right? Like the first name everyone's going to say is Kirby. It's like they have to have a Boise State brotherhood card to even be considered. And I would hope that Andy would consider a lot of options. Kirby Moore, sure, maybe being one of them. You know me, I like the shiny, sexy toys. I'd love to see Kirby come back here.
You're boys with Kirby, man. You love your boy. You don't care about that. You're boys with him. You'd love to have him back.
I would love it. Yeah, I'd love to.
I'm sure you're already texting him saying, "Are you coming back next year?" I'm sure.
No.
I
but
know.
He's kicking butt in Fresno. They're liking what they're doing down
Chris,
there.
Chris says, have they said who the QB coach will be? That's Koetter also. Koetter will be the QB coach. What do you make? Jesse says, hope Boise State brings back the fullback to the offense, wing T, put Tyler Crow as the fullback. That boy knows exactly what it means to be a Bronco. What do you make? And I have one more short clip I guess we could play from Andy, or we can just talk about it. But what do you make about what changes we will see in terms of are they going to go to more of the faster up-tempo stuff again? Do you think he sticks with the because a lot of people thought Koetter was the one that was involved in switching it to the slow-up clock control. When this was all happening, everybody was saying, oh, Cutter's got an influence in this. He's the reason this is happening. So if that were the case, they would stick with the controlling the clock and running the football. I mean, what do you make about Koetter and obviously his NFL experience now coming back to calling plays and calling an offense here at the college level?
It's crazy, man. Nobody's going to know. And I think that's what's going to be a special deal with this whole thing. If he's going to pump it up, if he's going to slow it down, who he's going to play at quarterback, what he's going to do with quarterback, if he's going to play both of them, if we're going to see a lot of new scheme stuff, or if he's just going to take the current playbook and just do a better job of having a rhythm with the play calls, call the right play against the right defense type of situation. Friday night all of a sudden has massive intrigue, man. And this was a game that people were like scared to even go to. Like, I don't even know if I'm going to go tonight. Now it's like you have to give Dirk Koetter a shot, Bronco Nation. If you're not supporting this move, then you really don't support this team, and that's fine too. But if you do support this team, you really support this move, and you can't wait to see what Dirk Koetter does with this offense.
Easy on the swears, kids alert. CJR is watching it with his kid. He told you to here. BNN taking some shrapnel as well. BNN told us we were spoiled, dumb fans. I wouldn't say that was the phrasing of it. Not at all. But BNN isn't totally wrong, they said. So maybe they were spoiled fans, I guess some were saying. Avalos says Koetter knows all the players' strengths and weaknesses from the analytics. He has relationships with them. He'll be able to jump right away. My guess is Hank gets first shot. Who do you think? Do you think they stick with Hank or go to Talon? Because some fans still want Talon.
I think they stick with Hank Bachmeier.
Some fans don't want that, man. We're getting a lot of comments on here still saying they think that it should be Talon Green too, and that you only go to Koetter if you're going to go to Green as well. But you think Bachmeier gets the first shot? Yeah,
I think Dirk. Let's see if Dirk can, like Humpty Dumpty with Hank Bachmeier, all the King's horses, all the King's men. In this case, Dirk Koetter can put the pieces back together again. There's your nursery rhyme tonight, BJ. I think it'll be Hank first. if whatever cliche you want to use, short leash, quick trigger, whatever that comes with that, to maybe keep an eye on Taylor Green. Andy said today they had Green packages that they were in the game plan and ready to use. But this situation just, they felt
Fourth
never
series.
called for it.
The fourth series in the UTEP game would have been his, but it was only because of the 2-minute drill they decided he wasn't ready. Your Dumb and Dumber reference, they loved that. It was a heck of a metaphor. Let's see what else we got here before we get out of here. Let's see. I know Koetter. Is he also here to help Miller or Bonifaz, the next offensive coordinator? Notice how Andy said Miller would have a lot more responsibility. Let's see here. Sears should have been the starter 3 years ago, Tom Taylor is saying.
Yeah, I felt that way too.
You did. You were a big Matt Miller licking his chops to be the next OC. We probably won't know who's starting until Friday night. Can we take the Kirby Moore thing behind the woodshed and put it down, please? Nick Wade, not a big Kirby Moore fan.
Yeah, let's see what happens with Dirk Koetter here, and maybe Dirk Koetter sticks on for another year or whatever the case is. A lot of things can happen.
Does Johnny really think he'll install a new offense that fast? No way. Can't expect a total change.
But again, I think the playbook stays the same. It's just a matter of when and where they call the plays. Or should you run here? Should you pass here? Should you play action here? I think a lot of that stuff goes in. I know we have all these armchair coordinators in this fan base, but let Dirk Koetter figure this thing out. You're not going to wait till the bye week to make this move just so you can give Koetter a little bit more time. Yeah, it might be a little vanilla-ish on Friday night, but I still believe Dirk Koetter running this offense, coaching these quarterbacks, calling these plays, gives Boise State a better chance to be effective offensively than Tim Plough has been doing. And I think the proof is all over the statistical paperwork on that sucker, BJ. You're keeping me long tonight, too.
I know, man. We're at 32 minutes here. We got 136 people watching right now. It's a record for you, so I want you to make sure you get your time here. Just making sure there's no more comments. A couple people ripping me on here. We're going to skip over those. Let's see. Yeah, we have a lot of people up. A lot of people not liking my comment that it was more than just Tim Plough, man. I was trying to be political there. Everybody wants Tim Plough gone. Dan Hawkins, what do you make of Dan Hawkins vouching for Plough? People think that Dan Hawkins kind of screwed Boise State here.
Yeah, Prater on Bronco game night said, "Shame on you, Dan Hawkins." He said that twice during Bronco game night on Friday night, saying, we drank the Kool-Aid on these two guys, Tim Keene as well, and it just has not worked out yet. Look, guys vouch for people on job applications and whatnot in a lot of different lines of work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I know everybody wants to point the finger at somebody, and if you want to point your finger at Dan Hawkins, I'm not going to tell you not to. Yeah, it didn't work out. It was a disaster. It was almost a colossal disaster. I mean, they were 9-7 under Tim Plough. They weren't 5-11, right? They were 9-7, but the offense was continuing to get worse, and they took the damn shaggin' wagon back into town and flipped it for the 75-mile-an-hour scooter and totally redeemed themselves, man. They flipped this for Dirk. Bronco Nation is loving this, and they should.
They are. They said only chance of having a decent season, Jeremiah Dickey trying to raise $300 million. You think he's going to keeping Tim Plough as our OC? No, probably not. I think something had to happen. It had to happen, and obviously, if nothing else, the players are re-energized, according to Lisa Kirk-Gardner. Definitely agree to that. Cody Law, pretty excited. I guess final thing, Johnny, I mean, like you said, Friday night, all of a sudden, all week now, there's new excitement, new intrigue as to what happens on Friday. Going back to 1996 when they joined the FBS, Johnny, I cannot find them changing a coordinator midseason. I mean, it is truly a historic thing that Boise State decided to do here to try to save their season. And you know what? They're undefeated in Mountain West play. They're in first place, man. Like, there is time to still save this season and turn this thing around and do what they want to do. So, I mean, it's And now I think you're really, new season, fresh start, conference play,
Yes.
got a chance to win it, 2 home games here, and you have the new OC and the new offense. I mean, I think there's a lot to, if you're Bronco Nation, you feel like you have a second life at this season, I think.
100% agree. Friday night, hosting San Diego State, trying to get to 2-0 in Mountain West play. That's all that matters moving forward. And, all of a sudden, is Dirk Koetter going to be in the booth where he's typically been as an OC when he was in the NFL? I know he spent a lot of time upstairs. Do they want him on the field like Tim Plough was? Andy told Bob, who asked that question today, he wasn't sure yet. We'll see. But no, a lot of intrigue with this fan base and this game Friday night, man, with Dirk Koetter calling the shots offensively. I can't wait to see what happens, BJ. It's going to be a fun week. Appreciate you having me.
BJ ain't a Bronco. He
No,
doesn't
I know you're
bleed,
not.
He doesn't bleed blue.
No.
You're the first
No.
correct thing you've said all night. I obviously want to see Boise State do well. It helps. My company is called Bronco Nation News. Like, yes, I want to see them do well to help my company. But no, I did not go to Boise State, and no, I'm not. So congratulations there for getting that correct. But Super Bowl head coach back on the blue, man. Should be a packed house. Going to be a lot of fun on Friday. We'll be listening all week to you and Prater break this thing down 3 to 6. Idaho Sports Talk with Prater in the ball game, 95.3 FM, 1350 AM. And Johnny, really appreciate your time as always, man. Appreciate no show tomorrow. Sleep in a little bit, and we appreciate your time.
Yep, no show with you tomorrow. Be back on the air at 3 p.m. with Micah Forrest Prater for Idaho Sports Talk. Thanks again, BJ. Going to be a fun week.
Yep. We're going to have a good Wednesday night BNN After Dark with you, so we'll see you on these channels Wednesday at 8. Thank you to rowpaint.com, all of our great sponsors. Check them out. Check out BroncoNationNews.com, and make sure you listen tomorrow 3 o'clock with Prater and Johnny. Hope you guys enjoyed the Sunday night edition. We appreciate your time. Big news, Boise State switching offensive coordinators, and we'll see how it plays out on Friday. Have a great rest of your Sunday evening and a great start to your week tomorrow. We'll talk to you soon. Bronco Nation News, BroncoNationNews.com.